Alright guys, so today we're going to be doing the iced malware family challenge on Let's Defend. I went ahead and already set up my virtual machine. It's called Bob. Excuse the terrible background. I don't know what happened to it, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. Go dogs. So I'm going to go ahead and, as I always do, just go ahead and take care of the webcam so I'm not blocking anything that's important. And let's go ahead and start. Alright, so I already preemptively downloaded the files from Let's Defend. And let me go ahead and just minimize this. I'm going to leave this like that. And as I always do, I tend to put the questions on a little notepad. So we'll start with this. Alright, so first question is, what is the SHA-256 hash for the mal spam attachment? Alright, so slide that over. Okay. So I'm pretty sure when I was doing this, what I did is I just went ahead and I think I ended up doing the collection box, both of those, and then the doc file, I just put them in VirusTotal, and I believe it ended up being the docs file. So if we go ahead and just go to VirusTotal, from there we can pull up the hash. So choose file, and actually let me go ahead. I don't know what I actually ended up. Hold on. Okay, let me just extract it. Extract to specified folder, challenge files, excellent. Password is infected, should be on the actual Let's Defend page. Let me minimize this for now. And go to downloads, challenge files. Okay. So if we just actually upload this here, this is the actual, this is the docs file. Hold on. Yes, okay. So it's asking for the hash, so using VirusTotal we can see, if we go to details, we see the SHA-256 hash. And that should be the answer. Like I normally do, I tend to kind of go through all the answers finally on the actual web page once we're done. There are 15 questions actually on this, so this might be a longer video than normal, but we're gonna be learning a lot. So question number 2, for me to pull that up. So just to reiterate, this should be, oops. And again, make sure to look at the hints. When you've already completed these, the hints go away, so I have to I tend to write them down separately from just the questions. So that should be the hash that they're asking for. Second question, if we move along. What is the child process command line when the user enabled the macro? Alright, so from this file, we're going to go into any.run. That is not, oh, actually it is, okay. So what we can do, it's normally any run is, you have to be registered and all this stuff, and it costs money, I believe, so I've used it for a couple of the normal challenges, not challenges from Let's Defend, but just the regular like alerts that you can do. So what you can do is go to public tasks and actually just upload the hash here. To VirusTotal, and it'll kind of filter out anything that has to do with this hash. So this has been kind of looked at a few times in recent I believe this is the one we want to look at, mostly because it's based off the same hash, but I'm pretty sure that like this top one over here, it doesn't have all the processes that we're going to be examining. Like we end up actually missing some of this process. Oh, never mind. Looks like it's actually there now. All right. Huh. Okay. All right. Well then, scratch that. You can just go ahead and use the top one, as I believe I did. Yes. Okay. All right. So back to question 2. What is the child process command line when the user enabled the macro? Okay. So as we've noticed, these are all. This is everything from that zip file. And we can see that basically, I think this HTML application, the child processes, so if we look at VirusTotal right here, this actually tells you the processes that are involved with this document that we put in, with the hash that we put in. So we see that we get winword.exe, and then this actually has a child process of explorer.exe, where this is what actually happens is it extracts this collection box.hta. And there's some other child processes here, but this is actually the same file that we get right here. So we can see that the winword.exe executable, which in other words trying to remember what. There's a website. Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. There we go. LLBass. Okay. This kind of tells you a little bit more what let's see if we search like winword.exe. Oops. Gotta spell word right. There you go. So what it does is it downloads. And it kind of, you can expand on this, I believe. It gives you more information. I would make this larger, but the formatting kind of looks weird when I do it like this. And it gives you kind of an example right here. Downloads, payload from remote server. So this website is called LOLBass, where it's living off the LAN using basically functions that Windows normally provides that within themselves aren't bad. Like this is a normal function that Windows would use. However, because this malware is just piggybacking off of this function that already exists, this is what a living off the LAN means. So basically this executable, what it does, it downloads something. So like we looked like from this example, you can download stuff from a specific server, things like that. So just a quick little introduction to LOL Bass. Yes. If I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry. I'm still learning too. Okay, so we end up actually downloading collection box const.hta, which I believe would be the answer to this question. Command line when the user enabled the macro. I think the hint actually tells you what specifically you need to type from there. Yeah, so you would see something. Let me see if I can bring. I usually make a guide when I make these videos to kind of keep me on track, so this is what it's asking for. So you would see explorer.exe collection box const.hta. So if we go to, which is it right here, it's just in the little brackets that it normally accepts. And now moving on to question 3. What is the HTML application files SHA-256 hash from the previous question? Okay. Kind of a mouthful right there. So let me try to remember what exactly it is asking for. I tend to write myself like notes on what exactly they're asking because sometimes I find it hard to interpret it. Okay, so it seems to be asking, hey, what's the SHA-256 hash from this collection box const.hta? So we would just do the same thing we did before, where we actually extract this to a specified folder, the same challenge files folder. Again, same password for all this. And we should be able to, I'm just going to duplicate this. There you go. There we go. Okay. Alright, so these should be, just want to make sure these are different. SHA-256 B2586 5. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this should be the answer. It's basically just asking us, hey, what's the hash of this this file that was downloaded, basically, from the previous question. And that should be what it's asking you in brackets. Number 5. What is the image file DLL installer SHA-256 hash from the previous question? Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. I skipped one. We are on number 4. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Based on the previous question, what is the DLL run method? So, the previous question was in regards to this being installed. Okay. So if we're still looking at processes again, if we look just basically further down this process tree, we end up getting a run DLL right here, where it's saying we're going to use this, which is what the question is referring to. What is the DLL run method? So this is the exact DLL run method, where it's going to be uploading this collection box constant, the JPEG file. So, oops. We got an HTML application, and then this is now the actual JPEG file, which doesn't really seem to be a JPEG. But we might get into that later. So, the Windows host process right here. So run dll32.exe. So again, this is a normal process that your computer is designed to do. However, malware will hijack this and take advantage of its functions and just kind of piggyback off of it to be able to do certain things. So if you do like more info, and which is why like normally you wouldn't get like a threat verdict, because this is an actual function that your computer does. So if we actually go to run DLL32, yeah, so it just executes functions. Click on it. These are the common paths. Execute DLL files. Gives you some examples here. Of what you would see. You can do from SMB, execute from SMB. So I tend to look at this a lot just to understand more, because you end up seeing a couple of these. You end up seeing these a lot, some pretty common ones that are used. So it's good to just learn and understand what we're looking at. If we go back, so if we're looking at the actual question, I'm pretty sure we'll end up reviewing the actual questions later on, but I'm pretty sure it's just the run dll32.exe in the little brackets is what you would put in for question number 4. Question number 5. So what is the image file DLL installer SHA-256 hash from the previous question? Okay. This is just basically asking us to find the hash of this actual image file, quote-unquote image file. So as we did before, we're going to end up not delete the file. We're going to extract it to a specified folder so we can actually run it in. I'll just make a duplicate. I'm trying to remember if we end up going back to any of these. So I'm going to avoid or closing any of these windows for now. Choose file, JPEG. Okay. Alright, so question number 5, what is the SHA-256 hash from the previous question? So this should be the JPEG, and details over here. This should be your answer, in brackets, of course. Alright, so question number 6, what are the IP addresses? What are the IP addresses and its domain name hosted installer DLL? Okay, so this was a little tricky. One of the things that I did find is from going to the actual. So I'm actually looking at it right now, but when I was trying to understand what they were asking, these processes basically ended up, I think, oops, what did I click on? Whoa. That was not the one I wanted. Where am I? Okay. There we go. So it's basically asking, what did this, what did we end up, what domain were we calling to download and execute this? And this is the actual, it's talking about the installer DLL, which is this one right here. So that's what it's referencing. I found this a couple ways just from like seeing here. If you look at DNS requests, so at a certain point during this process, we were basically reaching out to this domain right here. Now, as you can see, there is no IP address found in this. I think if I can check back, I don't think I actually wrote the hint for this, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure it was telling us to start looking at the PCAP here. This PCAP right here, so. I'll have to do that later. So normally, if you see my other videos, my PCAPs look a little bit different than the default. So I am having to adjust here, and I'll just do that. Okay. All right. So right off the bat, this is literally number 1. We see a DNS query for course mclures. And actually, if you, the second line here, you see what I'm assuming is a DNS server that you're contacting for this. A response where it actually tells you the IP address. So you would go to domain name system, the response right here. And if you look at answers, there you go. So trying to remember if there was a specific format for this. Again, we'll review it later, but this is the domain, coursemclures.com, and this is the IP address that it's referring to. I'm pretty sure I found the coincidences, or the coincidence of the DNS requests in the actual any run page right here. The hint said to start looking at the PCAP, and as we saw, it was pretty much the first one right there. So domain and the IP address that I showed earlier. Now if we look at the next question, which I believe we are on, which one are we on? 7. What is the full URL for the DLL installer? So there's actually a couple ways to do this. For these questions, I tend to, or at least for these challenges, because I'm trying to get better at working through Wireshark and get more comfortable with it, I'm pretty sure I just used Wireshark the entire time here. What you can do is use Network Miner, and a lot of this stuff is a lot easier to find. And just for redundancy, I guess we can just go ahead and use it. I'll use both. I'll basically go over both of them. And here we go. I'm thinking, oops, that's not what we're doing. Huh. I just installed it too. Okay, well, I'm not really trying to troubleshoot anything in this video, so we'll just stick with Wireshark. If it comes up, I'll do it later. So, back to the other question. What is the full URL for the DLL installer? Okay, so basically we're checking the PCAP, and we're going to try to find the URL that the DLL installer. So right now the only DLL installer we have is that run dll32.exe. So we're trying to find out when exactly, or what exactly did we request. So remember, the first question before this was, or one of the first questions before this was, what domain did this DLL reach out to? So we found that here in this line. So we see a DNS request, and then after that, once we know what that IP address is for that domain, the DLL installer is requesting, we start seeing actual communication here. And then we end up getting a GET request, the HTTP GET. And this line right here, which working in this VM has been kind of tough, honestly, because I can't see a lot of that. So you can go through here, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and you can actually see the full, man. Which one is it? No, not that one. Well, here, there's a way to get this. It's the truncated request. Okay. So I'm pretty sure if you just end up right-clicking here and you end up doing copy value, I believe so. Let me pull up a notepad just to, oh, wrong notepad that I need to pull up. thing when you start working with VMs and having multiple pages open, it's kind of hard to remember where exactly we're at. Okay. Show ELC. This should be a pretty long answer, but I'm pretty sure that if you do right-click copy value, I think that would be the answer. And I think also the hint actually tells you what format we're looking at. So I think you would want to put, well, again, we'll go over this later, but you'd want to put HTTP :// the domain that we found, and then from here, like that would be actually the full address. So that, and then everything else after that. Again, we'll get there with the actual answers, but that is how you find that. So if we're moving on to the next question here, we are full URL. Okay, question 8. What are the 2 IP addresses identified as C2 servers? So again, I was trying to do this through Wireshark only, and I'm pretty sure from looking at the hint, I actually ended up just doing this because I knew from the original, not minimize that, there you go, we were getting some DNS requests already. So when I was actually searching for this information for one of the previous questions, my initial thought was to do a DNS to actually find it. Little did I know, I didn't realize until later on when I was trying to do the other questions, like, oh, it's really the first one right there. So, but DNS, and you see all the DNS requests. We're going to be looking at this for a little bit. There we go. So here are all the DNS requests that this PCAP has, where this malware, or the computer that has this malware, was doing. So if you look back at the original question, what are the 2 IP addresses identified as C2 servers? So a C2 server is basically a server that is controlling this malware. Malware reaches out to it. It's like pre-programmed to know how to find it, or how to find this server. And what it does is it just waits instructions from that server. So usually when looking at DNS requests, because that's how we find domain names and their relative IP addresses, you see all these queries and you see the responses. So we have a couple domain names and IPs here. One of the tell signs is when you start seeing multiple, or the same IP address multiple times. So 185.33.85.35. So that's already kind of saying to me, like, okay, this might be a C2 server. And then we have a couple other ones here. So these are all possible C2 servers. Now, what we start getting into is that only some of these ever have a conversation that is in TLS or SSL. So when we start looking at, I was already kind of just searching this IP address because I found it weird that there's multiple DNS requests, and then also it doesn't always have the same domain name, which is like another giveaway. It's just a little weird. So these 2 are the same, but then you got Kilo, Dazer. Then you have Fimlobindu as another request. So I went on to just search what I could find. IP.addr equals what was it again? 185.33.85. Oops, 35. Okay. All right. And as you can see, pretty much a lot of TLS. A lot of TLS, and that's all you pretty much ever see from here. So that's one that I put down. And the other ones, I basically just started doing that. So if you go back to DNS, I started kind of filtering for all these IP addresses to see what I could find. So if you go back to course McClures, and let's actually 4542. Okay, so if we do ip.dr, so remember this was the IP address that or the domain, well, both, that the DLL was reaching out to actually install. I believe it was the JPEG 142, sorry. And as you can see, we pretty much just, we have the synac, and then the actual GET requests, and then for the most part, it's just normal TCP, like HTTP traffic here, you know, port 80. So it's possible that this is also a C2 server. But then I started kind of going through all these, and doing the same thing, just seeing what exactly I would pull up just from searching these specific IP addresses. And I found that the only ones that have a TLS conversation, I mean, one, I'm already suspicious of 185, right? So I kind of already had that one down as definitely a C2 server. And then the other one that ended up having pretty much only TLS conversations was 194, which is this one right here, 194.256. So five 249.46. And again, here you go. TLS. So your answer should be pretty much those two IP addresses. I think the hint tells you to do it one way or another, smallest to largest or something like that. Again, I kind of forgot to write down some of these hints. But those two IP addresses are the ones that we're looking at. And then question 9 was kind of when sometimes the other questions help me understand previous questions a little more. So, oops, not that one. There you go. Okay. So we end up getting here question, I believe 9. What are the 4 C2 domains? So, as we already checked, and I think the hint also on this was helped really kind of make me understand what exactly they were asking. So if we're looking at number 9, what are the 4 C2 domains? So I went back to the DNS query, right? And from the hint, it actually tells you like the first letter of the domains that we're looking for. So it should be AE in the order to put them in as the answer, AEFK. So as we have already seen here with the DNS query, we already know that this IP address is a C2 server, and we have, what was it? It was AE, no, hold on. AEFK. So we have A here with Aranex, AE, E is this one. I'm just not even going to try to pronounce some of these now. AEF, this one, and K. So these are 4 different right? A, E, F, and then K. Yeah, so these are the 4 different C2 domains, with 3 of them being, 3 of them? Yeah. 3 of them being from the same IP address. So it should be in that order. A, E, F, K. There are your 4 domains right there. And that should, the hint should provide you with the right format to type that. Again, we'll go over that later. Alright, so question number 10. Here we are. Okay. After the DLL installer being executed, what are the 2 domains that were being contacted by the installer DLL? Okay, again, the hints that they provide can help. So, after the DLL installer being executed, what are the 2 domains that were being contacted by the installer DLL? So the hint says to look at the PCAP file. The first domain is a popular cloud service provider. Okay. And we can actually see it. It's already on my screen here. This first one's a cloud service provider, and the second one is IP address that starts with 172. So basically it's just pointing out like, hey, the other 2 IP addresses here, we already knew one was this domain right here. And then they gave you the hint of 172. This is what we're trying to look for. Right, because we already knew that the installer DLL already contacted this one. I guess, maybe one of these has the other one, if I go back here. Again, I don't pay for like the full version of any run, so I'm kind of just stuck with what I got here. That's for free, or that's already been looked at by other people. Let's see if we get anything on this one. Okay, like this one you only get one of these. Well, anyways. That's why we have the PCAP file. And there we go. Okay. So, first one was a cloud service provider. If we look at this, there was something that I got wrong the first time, and I kind of wanted to point out just in case someone else did it too. If I remember in mid-sentence, I'll just show you. But basically what we're looking here for is aws.amazon.com and the supplementic one. So yeah, the other 2 DNS queries. These 2 right here. Again, look at the hint for the format on how to do it, and we'll take a look at it later. Okay, actually I think I remember now what I did wrong, so the first time. No, it was... I think I'd like randomly clicked on something and I didn't exactly get I didn't realize it. Oh, I think oh, here we go. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure I looked at the query for the course McClurda's one, and then in the actual I think in the actual response, it gave something like cloudfront.com, and I thought that's what it was asking for, but I think, you mean, obviously, you know, when it gave you the hint of the popular cloud service provider, I was already kind of thinking through AWS. So I realized that was the wrong or the right answer. I wish I could remember where I've had that difficulty so I can show you. But yeah, basically aws.amazon.com and the one for Supplementic should be your answer there. I think the format is subdomain.domain.com from the hint is from what they gave you is subdomain.domain.com, comma domain dot something. Yeah, so that should be your answer there. Moving on to number 11, I believe. This one was pretty straightforward. The malware generated traffic to an IP address over port 8080 with 2 SYN requests. So basically it's just asking you, hey, just filter for... The way I found this was, I think I just did, was it like PRT dot... No, hold on. I always forget. No, my bad. TCP. Well, here, the way I normally find this stuff. If we look at... Here you go, transmission control protocol. I don't know why I went to internet protocol. Okay. Transmission control protocol, it actually tells you the destination port. So if you look at the question again, here you go. Alright, so malware generated traffic to an IP address over port 80. So the destination port, it's port 8080. So we're looking for the destination port to be port 8080. So I just clicked on any one of these, went to the transmission control protocol, destination port, and the reason I do this is because if you look down here at the bottom, there you go. Okay, ignore everything that's highlighted. It'll say tcp.dst port. So this is telling you, hey, if you want to find a destination port, this is how you filter for it. So if we do tcp dot and I always forget immediately as soon as I do it, DST port. There you go. Alright, brain. 8080. So we're saying, hey, show me anything with the destination port 8080. And it's quite a lot, right? But I mean, it makes sense because the malware is generating traffic through this port. So, and as you can see, there's only 2 SYN requests. And this entire filtered part of this PCAP, there's only 2 SYN requests. Line 4275 and line 4292. So, it's asking you what is IP address, right? Let's see. Oh yeah, so what is the destination IP address? So yeah, 38.135.122.194. Alright. The license.dat file that was used to create persistence on the user's machine, what is the DLL run method for this persistence? So I'm pretty sure the hint here tells you to look at the scheduled task file. So if we pull that up here, let me minimize that for now. Okay. Yeah, so we're basically just looking at like the actual code here. And it's asking us to find the the DLL run method, and the hint actually gives you a format of what we're trying to do, or what we're looking for specifically. So if you maximize that a little bit. And we're looking for when a DLL is being called to do something, or when we're using a DLL. If you look at the hint that it actually gives you. Oh, here we go. It's not that big, so there's not much looking, but I believe it's this. Right, because in the argument, this is basically what we're saying. User 1 app data local user, and then we're gonna call this DLL. Not gonna lie, I don't really understand what exactly is happening all up here. I was trying to kind of do my best to understand this. There's a lot that I still don't know, so. But this, I think all of this, everything that's in the quotes. Again, the hints will tell you. But it pretty much should just be a direct copy and paste. Question number 13. I think that's the only time we need to look at this, so let me close that. Question number 13. What if that's not what that says. With OSINT, what is a malware family name used in this PCAP catcher? Okay, really just from realizing that I am doing a challenge for this malware family, I kind of just figured this was what it was. Turns out that is correct. You do kind of see, let's see, which, I think it's this one. From like all the detections, oops, the wrong one. Some of these do tell you, like you see like IcedID. IcedID here. IcedID. So some of these are named in a way that it does give you the malware family. So that kind of just reiterates that. But yeah, it should be just IcedID. And question number 14. Based on the Palo Alto Unit 42, what is that APT group name? Advanced Persistent Threat. It's basically, what it's asking is, what is the group of people, what do they call themselves, that a group of hackers that created this or discovered this? Well, no, actually, no, it's malware, so I'm assuming they created it. So basically just through a Google search, I think from the hints that it provided, I really wasn't able to find, like, for some reason the Palo Alto 42, I think one of the links that they gave wasn't working. I don't know if it was for this one or for the next question, but I pretty much just Googled like APT name for what was it? IcedID, right? Iced, yes. Here we go. And actually, it might have been faster on my actual computer, so. Oh, there we go. Well, never mind. So, yeah, so this gives you a couple of the actors. This is basically the APT actors. They call them actors. And then in here they actually have like also known as. I think the hint said it was one word. So I believe I tried the shock tack, and then it ended up being the next one, which is TA55-1. So that should be your answer for number 14. Number 15, another kind of like Google question. What is the... Okay. I've done research on this. This was all in the Security Plus exam. I still don't understand. I've heard this being called multiple different ways. Feel free to correct me. My tire. Oh man, no. Okay, the tire attack code for the initial access in this campaign. So what is the attack code for this campaign? This is a framework, by the way. They kind of, and let me actually look this up on my computer because you probably see it a little bit better. Here we go. This is always fun. This kind of just shows you. Oh, they recently changed this. Yeah. These are little. They give like little IDs on how certain. Wait, this is not the. Hold on. There we go. That's what I wanted to know. Okay. I'll get into the ID stuff later because that's what the question is asking. But this kind of gives you little paths on what is done. So for like active scanning and the paths that a certain malware or a certain intrusion that you or a company may encounter, these are kind of like the guidelines of what to expect next or where you would want to go. So you got like reconnaissance. How do they do reconnaissance? How they resource development. So I guess like how do they establish certain like compromised accounts? There you go. And this gives you this is so cool actually. If they want to go to the path of compromised accounts, this is kind of what you would expect to see. So definitely take a look at that. Initial access, execution, and this is just like a black hole of knowledge. Different kinds of privilege escalation attacks. So it all goes from left to right, and you'd kind of start as a normal attacker would start. This is used for pen testers to kind of map out a good way of planning an attack. But this is also used by people who are defending to understand what the plan of attack is and to better defend from it. So, if you're doing privilege escalation and you see, they create or modify a system process, then you kind of go from there and see like what else can we expect from here, and it kind of just helps map things out as you go through the attack process. So pretty cool website, definitely check it out. You should, if you're in cybersecurity, you probably already know, or looking to get into cybersecurity, you probably have already seen this mentioned multiple times. So back to the actual question. Hold on. I'm already here, so let me leave that on. Alright, what is the attack code for the initial access in this campaign? I think the hint basically pointed you to a specific web page in here. So let me actually pull up that web page. Here we go. It just gave us the ID. So yeah, here we're looking at the IcedID. So techniques used. Again, awesome resource. So from looking at this, from all the previous questions, I started going through and seeing what techniques were used. From there, I would kind of copy and paste this. This is what they're looking for. It ends up having a space, but just delete the space. That's not the answer though. But basically, I started going through the attacks that we were seeing, or the techniques, I guess, that we were seeing. and they correlate to a certain ID or a technique from this database, and it gives you all sorts of stuff, information. But basically what I did was, they didn't use HTTPS. I think I only saw HTTP. So when I put this one in, that was not correct. And I kept kind of going through and seeing what techniques were used in this attack for me to find the answer to this question. And I think I ended up getting... I think I tried... Which one was it? Scheduled task was one that I tried, because we did look at a task where that was created to keep persistence on the machine. I thought we were looking at that. That wasn't it. And then I actually went through, after a little longer than I'm proud to admit, the very first question calls this mail spam. And I had to kind of look that up, because I wasn't sure what that was, or like if that was a typo. I mean, it sounded like it was just like a spam email, malicious spam. So I kind of just did a quick Google search just to make sure that that was what I was thinking. So yeah, spam email. That's what that means. So once I realized that, I kind of jumped back to, because I skipped it originally, because we never really had anything that specified that this malware was delivered through email, except for that first question. And we actually end up getting this one, T1566.001. Yeah, so because that's actually how this was delivered. Bam. And I think that's it. So 15 questions, a lot of cool stuff. Let me go ahead and let's just go through the questions. All right, so what is the SHA-256 hash for the mail spam attachment? There's a hash file. We looked at virus total, child process line. We go through the processes from any run. What is the HTML application file? So what's the hash of this collection box? That's basically what it was asking. What was a DLL run method? There you go. It's that entire thing. What is the image file DLL installer hash? So what's the hash of the image that was downloaded, this JPEG right here, quote unquote? That's that hash. What are the IP addresses in its domain name hosted installer DLL? So yeah, this is the IP address and the domain name that this malware ended up contacting to install this, I believe. Yes. What is the full URL for the DLL installer? We look at the PCAP and we can actually see the GET request, and it should be this entire thing. I think there's some of it that's even cut off. Remember, right-click copy value on the PCAP once you find it. What are the two IP addresses identified as C2 servers? Using the DNS filter, we look at all the C2 servers or C2 domains, and we see a lot of TLS communication with these two IP addresses. What are the 4 C2 domains? It tells you what order to put them in from the hint. I believe I think we did that, or I went over that. But yeah, like 185 was 3 of these, and then 194 was one of these 2. Can't remember which one was which, but you guys have the PCAP. After the DLL installer was executed, what are the 2 domains that were being contacted? It's basically the 2 other domains that were left over from these 2 questions when we did a DNS search. And the hint tells you that one of them is a well-known cloud service provider. There you go. 11, the malware generated traffic to an IP address over port 8080. Remember, I went through and found the right filter to use to find the destination port 8080. After the filter, we only saw 2 SYN requests to a specific destination IP address right here. The license.file file, this was used to create persistence. What is the DLL run method? The hint tells you that you pretty much have to do all of this as your answer. And this is the DLL that it was using. So, question 13. That's from the task scheduler. Where is it? Or the schedule task. Task.text, the notepad. Let me go ahead and close this actually. Okay, I think that's it. I'm going to be doing more malware analysis videos later, and I'm definitely going to make sure that Network Miner works. I literally installed it right before making this video because I figured I could show both of them. Again, since I pretty much only use the PCAP to answer all these questions. But Network Miner is always fun to go over. Pretty cool tool. I've used it in other challenges, so I'll make sure that's working for the next time. Let's see. Question 12. Okay. With OSINT, what is the malware family name using this PCAP capture? IcedID. It's the name of this challenge. But some of the details from the virus total hashes that we put in actually gave us the IcedID malware family as well. This was pretty much, these last 2 questions were just Googling, and that's pretty much how we found that. So that should be it for this one. ICE malware family. This was pretty fun. Learned a lot. Definitely going to keep doing more of those. I think what I will do, I do want to keep going through just all the DFIR ones, but I might try to focus a little bit more on the malware analysis that we can do. I might try to just knock all those out because I do want to practice that a little bit more and get different challenges on here. So I would think I might just do that, take care of all of these, and then just take care of everything that's in medium level, and then do all the hard ones last. So until next time, appreciate it. Thank you so much.